Hello, and welcome to the Green Comedy Podcast for July 24th, 2024, episode 238. Stand-up comedian, actor, and improviser Paul Green coming to you, documenting my journey as I pursue my dreams. All right, so let's talk about yesterday. So, let's see, had a little business meeting with the Midlife Crisis comedy team, which was super fun to just really start taking this new comedy show very serious. We're taking it very serious, everybody. And, yeah, it's pretty exciting, actually. We are starting to work with our social media manager, and she's taken on a more expanded role to start helping us with bookings. And we also met with a video editor who I met off of Upwork a couple months ago, who I thought did a good job, and talked to him about coming on the team to start helping us get more videos cut and posted on the social media. So, another thing that happened yesterday, which was kind of discouraging. A lot of high lows when you are going for dreams. I'll tell you what, you think things are going really well, and then something else will happen, and you'll go, oh, okay, maybe they're not going well. So what had happened was, a couple weeks ago, I had headlined a pretty big show that I thought went very well, and I just got the footage from that show. It was professionally recorded. The recording turned out really great, I thought. And I decided to take a clip from that show that I thought was a very strong bit of mine that I've been doing for about 2 months now. And every time I do it, it just kills. I get the audience going, and sometimes I even get like a round of applause. And I thought, oh, okay, this is a good bit. So I have a friend who does casting for America's Got Talent. She's super cool. And I've submitted a couple things to her over the years that she's tried to get on America's Got Talent, and she's never been able to get any of my stuff past the producers. But I have that relationship with her, and I use it very sparingly. And I thought, hey, I'm going to take that bit. I'm going to cut it up, and I'm going to send it to her to say, hey, what do you think about this? So I did, and I texted her to said, hey, I emailed you a clip. Would love to know your thoughts. And I texted her to let her know to look for the email, because she gets hundreds and hundreds of emails every day. I cannot even begin to comprehend how much stand-up comedy this woman has consumed in her life, because she is very hardworking, very prolific. She's going to every comedy festival and goes to comedy shows and clubs, and not to mention all of the comedians who are just constantly submitting clips to her. So I just shot her a text and just said, I sent you this clip, or emailed it to you just so you know to look for it. Now, I didn't actually think she would look at it right away. However, I got a response from her, and it was pretty much do I like the word criticisms? We'll say 4 critiques and nothing positive, and that was it. She just said, like, please do not yell. Beginning is slow. Long-winded. You're yelling again. and it's too long and it's too long or something like that. She said audition videos are almost 2 minutes, and I think mine was like 3 minutes. And what's funny is I actually cut the bit down quite a bit. I cut out a pretty big portion of it, and I edited it together to where it actually looked really smooth. I was really impressed with my editing ability because I cut out about another minute and a half of the bit, but it looked very seamless. And yeah, there wasn't one positive thing said about it. There wasn't like, oh yeah, this is funny, or oh yeah, if you tighten this up or whatever. It was just like, you're yelling, it's slow, it's long-winded, and too long. Now, how do I process that? What does that mean? On the one hand, I was very grateful that she looked at it so quickly. That actually means a lot to me because I know she's very busy. So it was meaningful that she would sort of put my video to the top of the line. And by the way, this has nothing to do with her. She's awesome, and she's a friend of mine. So I'm not trying to be like, yeah, she didn't like my video. But it is also something where I go, man, I thought that. Yeah, I thought that I had written something that's, well, I mean, it is going very well, but it's this whole dichotomy of like, well, it's really good for this thing, but for this other thing, it's not even close. Well, it's really good for live audiences, but a TV producer looks at it and goes, yeah, this isn't even worth my time. So, that's discouraging. I don't want to lie about that. That's just kind of going, oh, okay. What was interesting is she also sent this as part of that email, and I've seen it before. So she kind of has this email write-up, which is sort of her standards or like her kind of standard advice. And she points out a couple of comedians who have done well on America's Got Talent. And I know one of them. And when I think of the one comedian who she talked about, I go like, I watched that guy's set. He yelled a ton in his set. He's a very animated, big energy guy, which is kind of what I'm going for, which is like big energy and passion. I'm not just like yelling for yelling. But so then what I started to do is I try to like picture, like, can I do this bit without being that like emotional about it? And I don't know. I don't know. It just put me in this weird space of like, oh, am I just yelling for yelling's sake? Which, by the way, this is not the first time that me being loud has come up. If you follow the podcast, a couple months ago, I was also given that feedback that I'm yelling a lot and it's like intense and too much. But whenever I'm doing it live, I feel like I'm totally matching the energy of the audience. It's like I'm bringing them along with me. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how to process that of just going, well, do I just try to do the bit without putting the emotion behind it, or can I put the emotion behind it without the volume? I don't know. I do not know. I'm trying to wrap my head around that. So that was yesterday. So anyway, that's a quick summation, and oh man, there's just so much of that sort of stuff when you're in entertainment. Just so much feedback. And it's always difficult. It's always difficult to know what feedback is I don't want to say valuable because all feedback is valuable. Well, maybe all feedback isn't valuable. There is some feedback that is valuable. Like when a major TV producer tells you something, it's kind of like, okay. But then you also look at like the famous stories in television of like, you know, Larry David sitting in a room of NBC producers and goes, no notes. Just like, nope, this is the show. I mean, you have to have so much assurance and confidence in your material and that what you're doing, that you somehow outsmarted the experts, or like you know something they don't. You know what I mean? I don't know. The confidence to be able to put your foot down and just say, no, the way that I'm doing this is the way that it needs to be done. And anybody who has a different opinion of it, it's like they're wrong. But at the same time, like in this case, she's the gatekeeper for America's Got Talent. So if she doesn't like it, it's going to die on the vine right there. It's not going to go any further, at least for that avenue. So I don't know. It's a really fascinating thing to, to be trying to produce art, produce comedy, produce content, and think that you have something that would be very valuable, or that would be TV worthy, and then to have somebody really not give any indication that, I mean, it would have been one thing if she was like, oh, I really like this bit, it's really funny, if you tighten up these things, then maybe I can submit it. There was none of that. It was just like, nope. So, what to do about that? I don't know. Keep writing, I guess. Keep writing, which I did yesterday. I'll tell you, this writing slump is really something. I just feel like I'm just writing endlessly, and there's not anything that's emerging that I feel like I even want to put on stage, which is interesting. But that's all you can do. It's just keep writing, just keep pushing through. I've said this before, the only name of the game is not quitting. And as long as you are not quitting, you're winning. There actually is no winning or losing. There's just still doing it or quitting. And I would say in some cases, even quitting is not necessarily losing. There does come a time where if it's just like, if it's not what you want to do anymore, you know what I mean? Or there is something else that seems to be calling to you, that seems to be a higher purpose. Now, if you quit just because it's hard, or you quit because, I don't know about that. You're going to all have to figure that out for your own, what that means. And that's what I'm trying to do, trying to figure it out for my own as I move forward, stuck to the earth by gravity, and as far as I know, subject to linear time theory. So, that's the quick update. I am getting ready for a pretty big weekend out in San Diego, technically Temecula, where I will be headlining. And I will definitely be doing the bit where I yell too much and it's too slow and long-winded for television. So I am looking forward to that. And we'll be looking for just a chance to continue to refine this latest set and to write more. That is the name of the game for me right now. So, with that, let's move to the second part of the Paul Green Comedy PaulCast, where I'm taking the 48 Laws of Power one by one and sharing my thoughts on them. Most of it has been negative. Speaking of negative feedback, maybe Robert Greene is doing a podcast, how some stand-up comedian is taking every chapter of his book and criticizing it. I really doubt he's doing that. I think he's a New York bestseller. I am not. So, the next law of power is pretty much to appear dumber than you are. It's the old play dumb tactic. So the opening story that he talks about in this chapter is about these two guys who pretty much, well, they just commit fraud. And how they were able to play it off is they acted like they were sort of these dumb prospectors who had claimed to discover some jewels in some mine in like San Francisco. And then they convinced some hyper wealthy businessmen to invest in the mine. And, you know, and then these business people, like, I guess, put like some money in escrow for them and were like, well, we're going to give you a couple $100,000 and, you know, to like investigate this further. But if it turns out being true, then we're going to want to buy the mine from you or something like that. I don't remember the details of it, but it's something like that. So anyway, so all of these like super rich people, based off of the word of these two guys who just made themselves appear really dumb and kind of like simpletons so that it seemed like they were easy to take advantage of, agreed to like this escrow amount for like a fraction of what the mine would be worth if it was legitimate. And then all of the rich people started sending all of these like jewel experts and stuff out to the mine. And guess what? There was all of these jewels in there. And all of these experts were like, oh my gosh, there's actual jewels and they're worth millions. And so then these finance people were like, woohoo, now all we need to do is just sort of buy the mine and buy the rights out from under these dumb country bumpkins. And so they do, and then they invest millions and millions of dollars in all of this equipment to get this mine like ready to just start pulling fancy jewels out of there. So then the country bumpkins who got bought out for like a couple $100,000, which at the time pretty much set them up generationally, took their money and then disappeared. And then it turned out the mine was a complete and total scam. And what the simpletons had done is they bought like $10,000 worth of uncut gems initially and then just sort of planted them in the mine so that when the experts came out, they would find these jewels and be like, oh my gosh, this has all kinds of rubies and diamonds and stuff in it. And then, so then all the millionaires were like, oh, well, we'll put $100,000, you know, as sort of like an initial escrow to investigate further. So then the dumb country bumpkins then took that $100,000 and went and bought a bunch more like legitimate diamonds and rubies and then sort of just spread them across the mine so that when all of the experts came out again, there's even more jewels. And then they're like, oh my gosh, this mine is a gold mine, almost literally. And then all of the finance people just were like, okay, well, we're going to buy this mine out from under you for what a fraction of what it seemed it would be worth. And then once they did that, the country bumpkins took all the money, were never heard of again. And then all of the multimillionaires were left with like millions of dollars of money that they invested in this property. And complete and total scam. So the law of power is to act dumb. What I do not agree with is fraud. This book is just so fascinating to me. It's just like so much of it is just blatant criminality. And I don't comprehend that as a law of power. To be a shyster and a charlatan. But it's I mean, unless this whole book is meant to be ironic, maybe I'm dumb. Maybe I don't get it. Or maybe I'm just plain dumb so that I appear to be less smart than everybody else. And that way I can sucker them into a ruse. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know about that one. Because on the one hand, I don't agree with fraud. I think fraud is wrong and illegal. I'm kind of surprised that those guys didn't, like, it said one of them disappeared, but it said another one just took the money and, like, upgraded his farm in Kentucky. It's like, well, obviously we know about these two guys. So if one of them disappeared, that makes sense. But the other one, it's like he had a farm in Kentucky. How did, like, the millionaires not, like, go after him and arrest him for fraud? And obviously the story exists because it's in this book. So I don't know. I feel like if you blatantly defraud, especially really powerful, wealthy men, that they would, come after you and bury you. But I don't know, maybe all the millionaires were just like, it's not worth it. We got better things to do with our time. I don't know, but I just really abhor that whole idea of blatantly and knowingly committing fraud. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what else to say about that. Now, there's the other side of, all right, so you're going to appear more dumb so that people think that they could take advantage of you, but then you're kind of double crossing there. It's like, oh, I'm dumb, I don't know anything. And then the people are like, oh, this guy's dumb, I can take advantage of him. But then you end up, winning in the end because you lured your target into believing you, or not believing you, or lured a target into thinking they could take advantage of you. So then it gets into this whole, well, the intentions of the people you conned were also nefarious. It's like, oh, well, they're a bunch of rich, greedy people who were, who gained all of their wealth and money by also being nefarious and dishonest and by utilizing the 48 laws of power. So, yeah, I don't know, man. Pretty cynical. But again, I also acknowledge that is the world that we live in, and those people are out there. And there are definitely human beings who won't think twice about taking advantage of an opportunity and doing so with ill intent and with non altruistic motives or with ulterior motives. So I get all that. I think all of that is true. I just don't know. I mean, I don't know if showing up and blatantly defrauding multimillionaires into giving you money so that you can just, in essence, steal their money based off of false pretenses and then set yourself up. But then again, if you want to look at it as like, well, they're a bunch of multimillionaires and they commit fraud all the time, which is actually true. I mean, nobody in the 2008 market crash got arrested, at least according to The Big Short, and they just artificially inflated their coffers and were committing fraud on one of the most global scales ever. So I get it. If you want to say, well, all of the so-called experts of, banking and Wall Street and stocks and bonds and real estate and mortgage lending and insurance, they all just blatantly lied to the tunes of billions of dollars and caused all of these innocent people to lose their homes and to get stuck in upside down mortgages and adjustable rate. I mean, yeah, I get it. a lot of greed and a lot of fraud. So if two country bumpkins can come along and one up people who are also been one-upping and committing fraud with no consequences, okay. You know, if that's the world you want to live in, or if that's the world you have to live in, I guess, then more power to you, as the 48 Laws of Power would suggest. So, I don't know. That's just not how I would prefer to go about finding success and joy and happiness and fulfillment in my life. So, there you go. All right, everybody. So that is my report on today's Law of Power. And a quick update. I feel like I've been pretty negative lately. Am I being negative? Or cynical? I don't know. I am just reporting as transparently and honestly as I feel comfortable being as I move forward through this journey of mine. All right, everybody. So that is all for today. This is for July 24th, 2024, episode 238 of the Paul Green Comedy Podcast. Hope all your dreams are going well and you are navigating this crazy world with success, joy, and fulfillment. I love you all so much, and I will talk to you tomorrow.